A new congressional report finds that big oil is still a big liar. The 66-page report accuses companies like BP, ExxonMobil, and Chevron of using disinformation and doublespeak to lie about their efforts to fight climate change.
Fossil fuel companies publicly claim to be partners, if not leaders, in fashioning climate solutions, but our investigation exposed that as a fraud. Big oil is not addressing the climate crisis, but profiting from it. The era of denial and deceit must come to an end.
Joining us now, the man who you just heard, Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. Also with us, Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. Senator Whitehouse is the chair of the Senate Budget Committee, which held today's hearing. So, Senator, I will begin with you. Explain what you found.
What we found is that the well-known campaign of the big oil companies to deny climate change, to treat it as a hoax, to question the science, all of that nonsense has morphed into a new campaign in which they pretend they care about climate change, but when you look under the hood and get into their documents, you can see that they are set up to oppose reaching the Paris climate goals, set up to try to lock in natural gas forever, and in a whole variety of ways depart from what their public-facing statements are.
How are they doing that exactly, Congressman Raskin? What are they saying, and where are they saying it?
Well, we reviewed millions of pages of documents that were discovered by the House Oversight Committee Democrats, and there are lots of different techniques that they're using. Some of it is they will, in public, say they support, for example, the Paris Climate Accord, and then behind the scenes, they will say, well, we don't really have to do anything to move towards complying with the Paris Climate Accords and doing our part. They will run, just endless amounts of TV commercials about algae as a potential solution to our climate crisis, spending half as much money on ads as they actually spend on investing in algae research. Then they pull up the stakes on the whole enterprise and just let it go. But meantime, you've got millions of people who think they've got some great new algae breakthrough. Meantime, they're not really doing anything to break from the carbon model, which is, a dagger at the throat of humanity at this point. We know the renewable energy systems that they should be investing in today, but they're not doing that.
Big Oil Senator has said that this is a bunch of politics in an election year. How does Congress plan to hold them accountable? What can Congress do?
Well, a lot depends on what the voters do. For one thing, we can keep the heat on them, as we did today in bicameral fashion, and put the pressure on the fact that they still are lying and they still are faking it and they still are trying to obstruct climate progress. But if the voters will let Congressman Raskin back into the majority and leave us in our majority, then we can go back to work for another really big climate bill like the Inflation Reduction Act, which has been really well received around the country.
Well, that is a big ask it's an ask of voters, certainly, especially in the Senate, where the chances of maintaining the majority don't look so great in terms of the map right now. That's just the facts of the situation. When you're talking,
but if you look at the candidates, that changes.
Well, let me ask you about that. When you're talking about this issue specifically, what are the candidates saying to voters, and do you believe that this is a top of mind issue? Does it supersede abortion? Does it supersede the economy? Does it supersede the protests that we're seeing on college campuses?
It depends on who you're talking to, but particularly with young voters, it is essential. And there is enormous popular support for getting something done on climate. If there's something immediate on the news, if it bleeds, it leads, then that is going to capture the public's attention in that moment. But if you look at where people's long-term concerns are, the things that really drive them, climate is in the top 3 or 4 every single time.
How do you get at this, though, Congressman Raskin, when you're talking about campaign finance? A lot of these companies spend a lot of money to keep a lot of your colleagues in their seats.
Yeah, this came up at the hearing today. People understand that we've got to defend our democracy and our voting rights and our freedom so we can deal with this mammoth crisis, which is really a civilizational emergency. There's a lot of campaign money that comes in from the carbon kings, and some of it goes directly to candidates, some of it goes into independent expenditures, some of it goes to think tanks, some of it goes to universities and academic research projects. Our report lays it all out so people can understand it. People need to know where it's coming from if we're going to break from the carbon model and move into a new period of renewable energy sufficiency, which is what we need. So I think that we do need to get people thinking again very concretely about it, because there's no emergency that confronts us that's more serious right now than climate change.
Congressman Raskin, Senator Sheldon, thank you. Sheldon, Whitehouse, thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you.